Welcome back. This is ballerscuba with another channel update video. We are going to talk at length about the channel today. Before we get into that, I do want to kind of hope that everybody that is listening to this is happy and healthy and safe. It's kind of a crazy time right now. We'll get a little bit more into that, but it's crazy right now with basically the entire world in quarantine and on lockdown, and I just hope that everybody is safe and healthy out there. I'm doing all right. Hannah's doing all right. Everybody that we know is doing okay right now, but you know it's crazy out there, and I hope that you are doing okay too. With that said, let's start talking about the channel a bit. Today, well, I'm recording this 1 day in advance. It's not much in advance. You'll have to excuse me if you can hear my mouse going a little bit here and there. Today was the day that I uploaded the final Let's Play that I had ongoing. It was Shovel Knight Showdown. It turned out to be the last thing that I worked on. That is now done. The finale went up today. Seems like people relatively enjoyed that as much as they could. It seems like the game was more of a hindrance than me for that one, though. But that is now done. I don't have any more videos right now. This is going to be the video that kind of takes that spot and kind of runs with it a little bit. So let's talk about what I'm doing, because there apparently are still some people out there that are unaware of what is happening. So let's talk about that a little bit. What is happening is that I am going to be doing a channel relaunch. I'm going to basically play games chronologically from this point forward. That is the plan. What I have is a lot of behind the scenes work that I've been doing for a long time. I have a lot of work that I wish that I could show it to you guys and you could see how long it takes for all this stuff to kind of happen, but that's not really something that I can show off right now. I don't have any videos ready, unfortunately. There's a lot of work that's going into this project, and it's just not ready yet. That's the best way for me to put it. In terms of things that I've been working on, most of it has been scripting right now. I'm working on scripts, and I have scripts ready for several videos. I believe that it's somewhere around 10 or 11 videos are fully scripted, and I'm looking at something like, how long is this one? That's 8 pages for one video. There's another one that's about 5 pages for one video, and then there's about 30 pages here. So we're talking over 40 pages of scripts that I have ready. I haven't had a chance to record any of them yet. There's a good reason for that. At least I feel it's a good reason. I moved. We had some issues with our last apartment. We ended up moving. We actually bought a house, and we're moved into that right now. My original plan was to record this video with the camera on me and all that, but due to COVID-19, things have been a little weird, and I haven't been able to get things properly set up. Hannah and I are both working. We're both considered essential employees. So we're both at work. It hasn't really affected us that much. I'll talk about that more in the personal update, but for those reasons, I haven't had a lot of time to get a lot of things done, and it's difficult to do some things that, we kind of need to do now that we're moved into a new place. I need to, kind of get the office organized, and I haven't had a chance to fully do that in a way that makes it suitable for recording. I don't have, personally, I need a haircut. I seriously need a haircut, and it would look bad if I recorded with this right now. So we're going to kind of have to wait for lockdown to go away and I can get my haircut somewhere so that I can actually sit down and record some vlog style videos. And that was the plan for this video, but, things change because of a virus that's kind of going around the world. But once again, I kind of want to focus on the channel for now. I'll try to upload some personal updates because apparently I realized that I haven't done one in like 9 months, and there's been a lot of things that have happened in that time, obviously. So I should talk about that, but now's not really the time. I'm going to try to focus on the channel itself. So for those of you that have missed it, which was apparently some people, because I was getting some, worried messages from people trying to figure out what was going on. I am not done with video games. I'm not done doing Let's Plays really either. I'm still not sure what I'm going to call the videos, but I'm kind of leaning away from Let's Plays at this point. So they might not be called Let's Plays, but they're essentially still going to be Let's Plays. What I'm going to do is I am going to play games chronologically from the beginning. Like I said, I have a lot of videos scripted right now. We're going to start with basically the history of video games and computers up until 1972. And then we're going to start breaking things off into separate videos. And one of the things that I'm going to be doing that people that I've talked to in person seem excited about is I'm going to be doing cultural context videos. And what that means is that I am going to be kind of outlining what is popular in that year. So starting in 1972, I'm going to talk about what's going on in the world. I'm going to talk a little bit about politics. I'm going to try to stay away from politics, but they're kind of important, right? So I'm just going to briefly mention, I think in 1972, Nixon going to China and Nixon winning re-election in 1972. I'm not going to talk really politically about it. I'm just going to kind of mention that it happened. And then we're moving on. But more importantly, I'm going to be talking about any sort of technological developments. Once again, in 1972, we're talking about the first public demonstration of the Arpanet, which later kind of paves the way for the internet. I'm going to be talking about pocket calculators, home video cassette formats. I'm going to be talking about, what else do I talk about? That's kind of technology in 1972, at least. But then I'm going to talk about media. I'm going to talk about the highest grossing films of 1972. I'm going to talk about other notable releases from 1972. I'm going to briefly talk about sports because I plan on playing sports video games. So it's kind of important to keep in mind, like, hey, who's winning? And honestly, I'm going to play a clip so you can go, oh, that's what that sport looks like a little bit. So, for those of you that are not familiar with American football and baseball and boxing and basketball and all that kind of stuff, I'm going to at least show clips of that, and that at least in these cultural context videos, so you can kind of get a sense of what those kinds of things looked like at the time. I'm going to talk about the top rated TV shows, other, ongoing series and debuts of TV shows. I'm going to talk about comic books, especially when it comes to debuts of new characters. 1972 is Jonah Hex, Adam Warlock, Luke Cage, and Johnny Blaze. Like, 1972 is kind of an important year, kind of in a lot of different things. I'm going to talk about any kind of important novels that get released that year. 1972 is Watership Down and Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim. A lot of times it's going to be kind of young adult or children's books because those get turned into video games because they tend to be like adventures. But we're going to talk about anything that, kind of is relevant to video games. That's the idea of these. And then at the end, I'm going to play the #1 Billboard songs of the year. Based on what I have done so far. I hope you guys like disco because there's a lot of it. But I'm just going to play a brief clip of them. I'm not going to play the whole song, right? That would be crazy. I'm just going to play a brief clip and kind of point out what the name of the song is, who writes it, all that kind of stuff. And these were the #1 songs. And the point of that is to put the video games in context. so that you can kind of see what else is going on at the time. Because it's one thing for me to say, let me look at my list here. The first one that comes to mind whenever I think about this kind of stuff is Space Invaders. So Space Invaders, it came out in 1978. It's one thing for me to just say that. It's another thing for me to point out what came out in 1977, which is Star Wars. Like, these are important things to keep in mind. It is 1977, right? Let me check my notes. I do have the movies like listed out here. Yeah, Star Wars, 1977. So it's important to keep that in mind. Star Wars had just come out, and trust me, we're going to talk a lot about Star Wars. But yeah, that's the general idea of the cultural context, is that I'm going to be putting these things in their context. I'm going to be just putting it so that you guys can kind of get a sense of what's going on in the world that would have an influence on these video games. That's the idea of the cultural context videos, and I'm going to be doing one for every year. I don't plan on doing them any more often than that. It's just kind of one per year. With that said, I am going to kind of start splitting them off at some point. There's going to be certain things that we need to do deeper dives into. The first one that I did was Dungeons and Dragons. That one deserved a video all to itself. The original release of Dungeons and Dragons is so influential on the history of video games that I want to talk about that in particular. So I did, and it turned out to be one of my longest videos. I'm talking about the history of it, a brief overview of where the game mechanics came from, where the inspirations for the characters and the monsters came from, a brief overview of gameplay. Because we're eventually going to be playing games from it, it doesn't make sense for me to outline it and not do it. So a very brief overview of that, plus the history of the people that created it, and we're going to keep up to date with that. So yeah, we're going to talk about these kinds of things in detail to try to give the video games that I'm playing the context. Of course, I will be playing video games as well. It's just that as of right now, there aren't very many video games that I want to play in terms of where I am in terms of scripts. So when it comes to the video games that I have, that I actually have scripted out right now. Like I said, I have 10 or 11 videos scripted. The only game that I'm playing is Pong. And I'm in 1976 right now. So there's going to be some videos before we start actually getting into more gameplay. But 1976, there are 2 games that I'm going to be playing that year. I just haven't scripted them yet. I'm working on it. Actually, one of them that I'm doing in 1970, or the video that I'm trying to script right now, is one of the video games from 1976. Throughout the 70s, there's just not going to be that many games that I feel are important enough to play. But after we do the cultural context videos, we'll go into the video games that I'm going to be playing. I think how many do I have in the 70s? I have, it looks like 10. Yeah, 10 video games in the 70s as a whole. So when we start, there's going to be a lot more context videos, a lot more explanation videos than there are going to be gameplay videos. That's just the way that it's going to have to work. But literally in 1980 itself, we're talking about 12 games just in 1980, not the 80s, 1980. So once we get to the 80s, like, I will start playing more games and gameplay videos will start taking over all these context videos and stuff like that. I don't know if I'm going to be playing all 12 of these. There's a couple on my list here that I'm like, maybe I don't play that, but I'm at least going to look into them and see if I want to play it. But yeah, the general structure is going to be the context, then these video games, I'll go through and play them. Then after that is done, I'll talk about kind of video game honorable mentions. So that's going to be stuff that it's important that I note that this game came out, or at least to me, it's important that I note that this game came out. But it doesn't necessarily deserve its own video, and I'm not going to play it. in full or really at all. 1972 doesn't really have one of those, but 1973 has 4 games that made that cut. So I'm just going to play a little clip from it and talk a little bit about it. For instance, like the second game by Atari, you probably never heard of it. It's called Space Race, and it's a very basic racing game in space. As you might imagine, considering Pong is just a very basic game. It's not necessarily that important because it wasn't that successful, but it, is important kind of to the history of video games. So I'm just going to mention it, show you a little clip, and then move on. And that's going to be the general structure of the project that I'm working on. That's basically what it's going to be moving forward is contexts, either the year as a whole or deep dives into certain things. Then I'm going to do a history of a video game and then play it. Right? That's an important part of what is going to be happening, is that I'm not just going to talk about the games. I want to play them, but I want to put the games in context. I want to give you a full kind of history of the game. Once I'm done playing it, then I'm going to talk about its legacy and its impact. Then I'm going to do kind of other games of the year, and then we're going to move on to the next year. That's kind of the general structure of what it is we're going to be doing. Of course, there's going to be times when I need to kind of go into deep dives into histories of certain movies like Star Wars, or books like Lord of the Rings, or other things that are going on, like Dungeons and Dragons. I almost said like Apple, but I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with Apple right now. It's very important. Apple's history is very important to the history of video games, of course, not just because of recent stuff, but back then too. The Apple II might be one of the best computer systems for video games of all time. So, it's something that I need to talk about. And I'm just not sure how I'm going to go about doing that right now, but I'm going to figure it out. And that's one of the big things that I want to talk about, is that I don't have everything set in stone right now. But I am working on it, and I'm working really hard on it. If we're being honest, I've probably worked harder on the channel since I've slowed down than I ever have. I'm working on it pretty much every day and for several hours a day while I'm doing other things, granted, but I am working on this very hard. And it just kind of sucks that I don't have anything to show for it right now. But these things are being worked on. And that's kind of one of the points of the video, is that I want to reassure you that I am working on these things. And I will get these done. And it's just going to be a while before you're going to see any sort of video from me, any sort of result of the efforts that I've been making, which sucks. I don't like that, but that's just kind of where we are right now. And I mean, not only have I been working on getting the scripts ready, I got all the media ready, right? I got all the pictures and video and the audio and the fonts and all that kind of stuff. I have it ready. And I might actually start trying to do some editing right now. But I am kind of waiting on someone else. I actually am trying to pay people to do some channel art for me. I need, like a new logo and a new background and a new intro and a new outro and all that kind of stuff. I'm trying to do a full channel relaunch here. I'm trying to start things correct. I feel like I've been kind of doing the same thing for so long that I'm not necessarily improved as well as I could. So I'm trying to do this as right as I know how to make it. The problem is that I don't have the result of the art. I've paid one person for art, and it just didn't work out. So I moved on, and I have tried to get a second person to work on it. And it's been about a month and I haven't seen anything. So I'm just going to reach out and basically say, hey, if I might just try going somewhere else again. Because that's one thing that I'm pretty weak at, is actually designing art. I can move stuff around. I can edit fairly well, but to actually draw something or to actually create something from nothing is not a strong suit of mine. So I'm trying to reach out and get that done. There is going to be basically a new name of the channel. I'm still going to be the same person. It's still going to be ballerscuba, but there's going to be a name of the project that I don't necessarily want to reveal right now because apparently nobody else has taken it. So I'm going to wait until I get that done and I can get the videos up before I actually name it. It's kind of crazy to me that I can get this name, but I've Googled it as much as I can and I don't see it anywhere else. So I'm going to take it. In terms of how often you're going to see videos or how soon you're going to see videos, I don't really have an answer for that right now. I'm anticipating at least a month before the first videos start going up. I don't know when the videos are going to go up. I know how much I want to get done before I start uploading videos, because the last thing that I want to do is get like 3 or 4 videos up and then suddenly not have anything for a month because it took me longer than I thought to, finish the rest of the videos. I don't want that to happen. So I am trying to get a backlog going. That's the idea. I'm going to try to get through the 70s, at least recorded and all that kind of stuff before I start uploading anything. That is probably going to take about a month at least, maybe 2 months. I'm not entirely sure. It could take longer than that because I haven't actually done any editing yet. And the editing's going to be pretty rough. It's going to be more editing than I have done in a long, long time, if ever. For a single video, I think I had one of them at somewhere around, let me check here. Let me check what I had. I have like a folder for each one. The first kind of major video that I'm doing, I have 121 pictures and video in it. That's going to be the history video up until 1972. There's a lot of things I want to talk about. And I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to be funny during these. But I have 121 things that I need to edit into the video that I'm going to be making. So this is going to take me some time to edit. And I don't know how long that's going to take me to just because I haven't done it yet. I'm going to try to, do things right. Like I'm going to try to get thumbnails up. I'm going to get, my Twitter and my Instagram actually going the way that I need it to go. These are all things that I plan on getting done. And as a result, there's not going to be videos every day because I'm not going to be able to get videos every day. I don't know what the schedule is going to be once I get things done. I'm anticipating when I start somewhere around 1 or 2 a week, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to match that. And part of me says I probably even shouldn't say that because I don't know if I'm going to match that. But that is the plan. The plan is 1 to 2 videos every week. I'm anticipating that the 70s will be somewhere around 25 videos. And I know it sounds like I just said that I only have like 11 scripted. So it seems like there's going to be like a long time before I get this done. But I have a setup going that scripting videos is not taking as long as it did before. And Dungeons and Dragons really pushed me back, as well as moving. Moving pushed me back. So it is going a little bit faster now. I was able to get 2 videos scripted yesterday alone. So there is a good chance that I will be able to get through that. I'm just kind of waiting on channel art and, to look presentable before I start recording things, because there's going to be a lot of stuff that is done in front of a camera, which is something that I'm not used to, but I will get done. There's going to be a lot of stuff like that. And so I'm trying to get things set up for this channel relaunch as best as I can. And it's just taken a long time. And I wanted you guys to know that. To answer a couple questions that I have decided on, I am going to reopen Patreon when this starts going up. There's not going to be tiers of Patreon. It's just going to be either you support or you don't. And there's going to be not necessarily perks, but I'm going to upload the videos there early. That's going to be kind of the perk of it. As the channel grows, maybe I start doing other things. There's a couple things that I have in mind that I'm just not sure if I'm going to be able to do. But that would be for patrons to kind of, help, like, hey, if you would like to support the channel, that would be great. The issue last time was definitely, I think, the perks and people just kind of going, hey, I'm paying you money. You should be compensating me back in some way. And because I had 3 different tiers, I had 3 different sets of perks that I had to keep in mind, and it was difficult to keep that up on a month-to-month basis, especially now that I'm working so hard behind the scenes, much more than I have before. I'm not sure I can really do much, so just kind of one perk, and we'll see what happens as we go forward. That'll probably be the way of it, is that you get to see videos early, and then I probably won't be relying on anything from Patreon in order to make videos like I was before, where it was just, hey, which game would you like me to play? That was what I was doing with Patreon before, and then I would have to wait for results of that before I could upload videos, and I don't think that's the way that I want things to go anymore. So I'm basically just going to have perks there, and then not necessarily rely on feedback from Patreon to make videos. I'll of course take feedback into consideration, but I'm not going to necessarily rely on it, if that makes sense. There are definitely some things that I have plans for the channel relaunch and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to lie. I really do hope this does well, and it's going to have to do well very quickly, and that's what scares me the most about this. I don't think that the way that YouTube works anymore, that I can slowly grow, if that makes sense. I kind of need a video to do well very quickly. So if I put out this video and it only gets like 10 views, then, the channel relaunch is basically a failure at that point. So I'm kind of hoping that you guys like it and you want to share it, post it, somewhere online, tell people about it, get your friends to watch it. I'm going to put a lot of effort into this, and I hope that I can keep it entertaining, even if it's not funny. There are definitely some aspects of this that are scary to me, and that is one of them, that since this is new for the channel, I could scare off people that have been here for a long time and disappoint them. Just be like, hey, it's not what it used to be, and I'm no longer interested. I'm going somewhere else. That's an entirely real possibility, and I apologize in advance if that's the case for you, where you're just kind of looking at it and going, this is not for me. I'm going to go somewhere else. The other big thing for me is that, I'm putting a lot of effort into this. I am putting some money into it as well. Like, this is not going to be free for me to do all this. Hiring people to make channel art for me is not free. It's not as expensive as I thought it was going to be, but it's still, it's still money that I'm investing into this. One of the things that people have asked me about as well is Twitch. I think there is a way for me to incorporate using Twitch in my videos. I'm not entirely sure how that's going to work for a lot of games that I'm going to be playing, but there are definitely some games that I'm going to be playing that come to mind as, hey, this could work for Twitch. Like Pac-Man, no. Like, what am I going to do with Pac-Man on Twitch? You guys want to watch me play Pac-Man for 15 minutes? Like, it doesn't make all that much sense. But as we make it to, I don't know, Ultima or Wizardry, maybe people want to watch me do that, and they want to watch that on Twitch. The one that came to mind right away in terms of like an old game that would work was SimCity. When did that come out? I honestly don't see it on my list, and I'm down in like 1983 right now. But that would work for Twitch, me kind of doing something like that. The other thing that I had in mind was kind of the honorable mentions of video games, kind of playing a little bit of those on Twitch at a time. They're not particularly great games. Let me take a look at, like, I don't know, what year do I have? 84. 1984. There's Punchball Mario Brothers. There's like a versus pinball, a versus golf, Star Wars Return of the Jedi, a Ghostbusters game. Those are all games that aren't necessarily worth doing a full deep dive into, but maybe I want to play just for a little clip of it so I can kind of explain it well, and maybe I do those on Twitch so that people can see it. There's a lot of games out there that I do want to play. I haven't really talked about the list in detail yet, and I don't really want to talk about the game in detail because once I say, what's on the list, people are going to hold me to it and want to change it. And it's not that kind of list right now. It's a list that I have a lot of details on, and I want to be able to change it as time goes on. There's going to be some games that I'm not going to be able to get. Some of these older games in particular, I'm having trouble finding a working Pong game, for instance. Like, that one's actually proven to be pretty difficult for me to find. I can't find the original version, and that's the one that I want to play. I can find a lot of people that made a Pong game, but I want to play the original Pong, and that's actually proven to be a little difficult for me to find. I found one. I haven't had a chance to test it, but that's proving way more difficult than I thought. That kind of stuff is going to come up a lot. Then there's going to be games that there's no way I can play. Games that the servers got shut down. There's going to be games that released in Japan that never got released in America and never got translated, so I'm not going to be able to play, and those end up being honorable mentions. But right now I have them on my list of let's see if I can find it. And that's kind of the way that the list is right now. There's going to be versions that I play that are going to be later because of that kind of thing, especially computer games. There's one that I have right now that, I don't want to spoil it because I haven't had a chance to test it, so maybe I don't play it. But the original the version that I'm going to be playing is, like 6 or 7 years after the original actually came out, but it's, it's not going to be that big of a deal because it's mostly just a text adventure. So not a big deal that I'm playing a different version of it. The text is going to be the same, and that's all that really matters. But that kind of thing is going to happen a lot. So I don't want to necessarily mention ahead of time what I'm going to be playing. One of the things that people did actually ask me for that. Are you going to tease us in advance of what you're going to be doing? And I didn't want to say yes because I don't want to say these are the games that I'm going to be playing for the year, because it's going to take me a while to sort everything out and make sure that I'm going to be playing it. What I will be doing at the end of every one of these videos is kind of teasing what's going to be the next video, though. So I will say, at the end of the cultural context video, what is going to be next. For instance, for 1974, how do I phrase it here in my script? I said that I hope to see you in our deep dive into Dungeons and Dragons, which is what the next video is going to be. It's a very deep dive. What page is that? That's page 12, and Dungeons and Dragons goes down to page 18. So that's 7 pages of Dungeons and Dragons history. And I don't even really talk about the game all that much in terms of gameplay. I talk about, the context of it all. It's going to be interesting. And I'm interested to see how people react to this kind of stuff. I haven't had a chance to record it. That's going to be my kind of way of editing things down as well. Because I tend to be long-winded, as you can see from this. How long is this now? Over 30-minute video so far. I tend to be long-winded. And that works for me and works against me at certain points. But yeah, I'm excited about this. There's a lot of things that have gone into this already, and I just want to reassure you guys that even though you're not going to see anything for a while, other than this update video and then some personal update videos when I get a chance to record those, that I haven't gone anywhere, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm working pretty hard on this, harder than I have for the channel in a long time. This has become an almost everyday thing. I basically come home from work, sit down, and start scripting. And that's going to stay the way that it works for a while. I'm going to try to do this right, and I hope you guys enjoy it. If you do, please share the upcoming videos. Not necessarily this video. You don't have to share this one. But one of the introduction video or the first history video, like I really hope that those make it. And if they don't, then maybe the channel will still grow over time. But it seems that the way that YouTube's algorithm works right now, if it's not instantly popular, it's just not popular. And that's sad because it feels like you're not getting any new people making it as a result. That the only way to make it is to have somebody that's bigger point out your channel. Have somebody with 1 million subscribers go, hey, you should check out this guy with only 10,000 subscribers. That's how people seem to make it these days, and that's sad. I think that you're not really seeing a lot of new creators make it into the mainstream of YouTube anymore, and that's kind of sad. And they're making some progress, don't get me wrong. There's not necessarily on that front, but they're at least making progress in a way that makes sense to me. They're now asking me when I upload a video what the context of the video is in terms of how it's going to be monetized. Hey, do you curse too much? Is there nudity in here? Are you talking about controversial subjects? And I'm like, thank you. That you're at least outlining what the issues are, and you're allowing me to make that call. And then if it proves that I'm wrong, then you'll take away my ability to do that. That makes all the sense in the world. Where was this, 10 years ago? But that's basically where the channel is right now. I don't want to say we're on hiatus because, like I said, I'm working my ass off, but you're not going to see videos for a while. And when you do, there'll probably be some videos up on the Patreon. I'll have an intro. I'll introduce the Patreon again. But like I said, I'm basically kind of working on a full channel relaunch here. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and I am working on it. It's just a lot, and I haven't been able to catch up on it. The outbreak has not actually given me more time. I'm sure for a lot of you, you're at home looking for stuff to do, and I wish that I had videos to show you in this hard time where any sort of video would help, but I just don't have the videos right now because I am working on this stuff. Maybe I'll do like some streams of some games from the time. Hannah brought up possibly doing a stream of the new Final Fantasy VII when it's fully released, with both her and me there talking about it, because Hannah has never seen the game, right? Hannah's not a big gamer, and Hannah knows that it's my favorite game. So the idea was that I would stream me playing it and basically talking to Hannah about what's going on and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if I want to do that. Hell, I don't even have a PlayStation 4. But that something like that might be a good idea for games that I don't necessarily want to do for this big project, but I'm still, halfway interested in. And there aren't a lot of those games, especially like the terrible games. Maybe I do something on the side for that so that I can do, I don't know, E.T. comes to mind as a really old bad game. God, there's always that one game that comes to mind too that I will never play on this channel. I guarantee it. I will never do a video on Custer's Revenge. I just won't do it. I absolutely refuse. I will never even mention it in the project that I'm doing. In those videos, I won't even mention Custer's Revenge. For those of you that don't know, it's an Atari 2600 game. And to call it a porn game is to be lighthearted about it. It's a game in which you play General Custer and you rape a Native American woman while arrows rain down on you. And that's the game. It's an Atari 2600. It's not complicated. I refuse to play that game. And a lot of people have played it to try to make fun of it because look how bad it is. I'm not even going to do that. It's over the line in several ways, and the creators have even tried to justify it over the years, and it just doesn't work. Stuff like that I won't do, but well, that's kind of an exception. But kind of terrible games, maybe I'll play one of those every once in a while. I'll get drunk and I'll stream that. Things are still up in the air. I am still open to ideas about certain things, but there's other things that I'm set in stone about. As I posted on Twitter, I had to stop reading comments for a while. I have had the idea of having Hannah read through the comments and just letting me know which ones I should probably respond to. That might still continue, especially when we get up to the lead up of the channel relaunch. I'm definitely trying to stay away from the comments. Every once in a while I'll glance at them and it kind of ruins my day, to be honest. A lot of, like I said before, and I'll say it again, most comments are very nice. But it's just that one comment that will dishearten me. For some of you, this is going to be news that I stopped reading comments. I did a while back, probably about 2-3 months ago. I just had to. It was too time consuming. I came out of it not necessarily depressed, right? That's too strong of a word. I wasn't depressed, but I was a little down because of the comments. Most of the time it's people demanding things or asking for more from me. Those were typically the comments that got to me. And I'm not saying that they were the majority by any means, but there were definitely some every time that I looked. Just, hey, you need to play this game. Or, hey, you need to do this differently. One that comes to mind recently is that somebody did not like one of my accents in Chrono Cross. We're not talking like that came up when I uploaded it. I'm talking about like last week this came up. Like I said, every once in a while YouTube sends me a notification and I go, oh, thanks YouTube. I forgot which accent it was. It wasn't, but apparently I wasn't good enough at the accent and I ruined the entire Let's Play. That kind of stuff, it happens. It pops up, and I try to be thick-skinned about it, but after a while of just seeing negative comments, it just kind of eats at you. So I had to stop reading, and that sucks. I always wanted to try to keep up to date with that kind of stuff, just try to keep reading the comments and stuff like that, but right now it just kind of proved to be too much. So leading up to the channel relaunch, I'm going to try to shelter myself from that kind of stuff and just not look at it because this is so important for me and I so much want it to work that any sort of negativity might leak in, and I don't want that to happen. I will have Hannah look at the comments, especially for this video, to see what people are saying. But yeah, that's basically where we are. I did want to bring that up, and I hate to end kind of on a down note, but that is definitely a thing that I needed to bring up, is that I had to stop reading comments because there was, like I said, mostly it was people just asking for more. People would come just with a list of games. I need you to play these games. Some of which I had already played, and I just didn't bother looking. I got a request to play Ys 1, for instance. Like, hey, have you heard of Ys? You should play Ys. the first game, and it'd be really good for a Let's Play. I'm like, yeah, I played that a few years back. I don't know how long ago it was, but I definitely played Ys, that kind of stuff. Xenosaga, that was weird. I'm like, if you look up Xenosaga, I'm sure I'm in the top 10. Like, there's not a lot of people that played those games. But yeah, it was that kind of stuff, and that would get to me, is that people weren't paying attention to what I said and were asking me of stuff. That's probably the biggest issue with that kind of stuff for me. But like I said, when we do the channel relaunch, I'm going to reopen Patreon. I'm going to try to listen to patrons in particular, because most of the time that it was a YouTube comment, it was a random passerby that would list a complaint. And even if I did the thing that they had asked, they wouldn't be watching the videos. It would just be a one-off type video for them, or a one-off Let's Play for them. So if you're even considering donating to my Patreon at all, then chances are I like your comments. You know what I mean? It's like, if you're actually, a dedicated viewer or a fan of mine, then I like you, right? That's just the way that it is. And it's all these random people that get to me, and that sucks. So I'm trying to work around that, and Hannah is helping me with that. The term, Hannah did look at a few and just like, yep, they're entitled. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably the right word for it. So that's basically where we are. Like I said, I'm looking forward to the channel relaunch. I have hopefully channel art under the way. I'm going to text that person today, just say, hey, if you can't get it done in the next week, I'm going to just look somewhere else. I will do some kind of behind the scenes videos at some point, and I'll show off the other channel art that was made for me. That person actually made the channel art. It's not bad. I'm not saying that. It just was not what I asked for at all. That was very weird. I gave very specific instructions, and without saying anything, just gave me something completely different, and then told me that and then when I called him on it, he told me my ideas were bad. Like, you should have said something. He's like, well, I worked really hard on this. I'm like, I can see, but that's not what I wanted. So maybe I show that off a little bit. Kind of talk about what the channel could have been. But yeah, I'm excited about what is coming. As you can see, this is a longer video. That's going to be the way that the channel works. Kind of from now on, I'm going to record entire sessions and upload entire sessions. Yeah, there's still more for me to talk about. What am I talking about? Let's not end on the comment stuff. No. Let's forget that happened. So one of the things is that I'm going to change kind of a lot of things, right? I'm going to change the thumbnails. I'm actually going to do thumbnails. I haven't been able to do that because I've been uploading so many videos that doing a picture, getting into Photoshop or whatever and doing a picture for each individual video would have taken me longer than editing all the videos that I was doing already. So it was too taxing for me to do 3 thumbnails a day. Now that I'm going to be doing maybe 2 a week, I could easily do the thumbnails for those. And that's definitely something that I have not done before. And I can do that. I can do a thumbnail. So I'm going to start doing the thumbnails. I'm going to change the time that stuff is published. I'm told there's a very specific time frame that I'm supposed to publish things in order to be popular in my area. And that's the way that I'm going to have to look at it. I'm going to have to look into analytics like that. And apparently it's sometime around like 12 to 2. I was told, like, do it right at 1. Like, okay. What I've been doing has been 6 a.m. 6 a.m. and back. That apparently is a very bad time to upload videos, and apparently has kept my videos down for a long time. So I'm going to redo those and get them up at the proper time according to YouTube's algorithm until it changes. And the idea is that I'm not going to be on a schedule. Once things get underway, when videos are done, they're done and they go up the next day. That's my plan. And I'm going to upload entire sessions in a single video. That's the idea. So that means that there's going to be videos out there that are an hour and a half, 2 hours, especially when we start getting into RPGs. That's going to be how I look at it, is just when I upload the video, you're going to have an intro, you're going to have an outro on that one video. I had complaints over the years that people weren't understanding why I didn't do an outro at the end of every video. They just weren't understanding that that I would record several videos at once and then upload them, slowly over time. They weren't understanding that. Because when I started, that was the standard. That I did substantial improvements over what everybody else was doing. If I'm being honest, that's the way I felt about it. I was doing better than my contemporaries at the time. But the world of YouTube has evolved so much over the years that things have changed, and I didn't change with it, right? Longer videos are now more popular. The 12-minute videos aren't really the standard anymore. That, for a while, it was 10 to 12 minutes for most people. And I did 12 to 15, and still, now I'm getting a ton of complaints. Like, hey, these need to be longer. Who wants to just watch one video of 12 minutes? Nothing happens in 12 minutes in an RPG. And I'm like, well, yeah, but remember, I've been around a long time. So now the standard seems to be somewhere around 30 minutes to an hour. I'm going to go beyond that, and I'm going to do an entire session at once. That way it makes sense. I don't have to split anything. I don't have to watch the clock and try to figure out when I need to do an outro or anything like that, which is what I did when I first started. But I eventually had to abandon that because I could not space out. I think it was Final Fantasy. One of the Final Fantasy games, especially when I was cutting out the random battles. I can't gauge how long I've been recording this video. Actually, I've been playing for, 45 minutes. Oh, look, it was only 8 minutes of recorded footage. So it was too difficult for me to keep track of that. And I don't even want to try moving forward. So we're going to just do the entire session at once. And of course, like I've said many times, when I start doing these videos, it's going to be different than what it's going to be in the long run. At first, I'm going to be talking more about history and context and people and companies and all that kind of stuff, and less about the actual video game footage itself. Not going to actually be playing too much of the footage. Like I said, there's only 10 games that I'm looking at right now in the 70s. I think I'll be able to play all of them. There's only one, I think, that stands out to me as something that I might not be able to play. But those, they're not going to be very long games. I think only 2 of them could even possibly be multiple videos. That's the kind of thing that we're talking about. But as soon as we get to the 80s, and I mean almost as soon as we get to the 80s, I think there's some in 1980 that are going to take multiple sessions to get through. Rogue comes out in 1980. Zork comes out in 1980. I think I want to redo Zork. I have to look at the videos that I did for Zork. Because I felt like I didn't do it in context. And I feel like it's short enough that I should be able to do that again. 1981 is Ultimate Wizardry and Castle Wolfenstein and Zork 2. Those are going to be probably multiple videos to get through. And therefore, once we start getting into the 80s, it'll start looking a lot more like what I have been doing in the past. It'll be a lot of just gameplay videos. But when we start, everything is going to be a little different, and it's going to be more similar to the retro gaming channels when we start. But the whole point, I think, is that I'm going to play the games. And I feel like a lot of the retro review channels, they don't do that. And as much as I love the retro review channels, and as much as I love Let's Play channels, I feel like there's always a lack of both. And I have contributed to the Let's Play side as well. I've just booted up games and played them, right? And I don't want to do that anymore because there's a lot of times that these are near and dear to people's hearts. And I'm, saying how bad it is. and I'm not understanding certain aspects of it, or I'm not playing it the right way because, the game didn't explain things properly, or I missed one thing in the tutorial that turned out to be super important, but it didn't sound important in the tutorial. The one that comes to mind the most right now is NFL Street. Like, people hated my NFL Street video. Apparently, people loved NFL Street, and I thought it was a terrible game. I still kind of do. I'm not going to lie. I'm not a big fan of it, but it's rated well, and it has a cult following. So, maybe I'm in the wrong on that one, but I treated it as if everybody knew it was a bad game, and therefore, like, it is my lowest rated video. Like, people hate that video. So that kind of stuff, it hopefully won't happen anymore because I'll have these games in context. I'll have done my research before I boot them up. I will constantly have guides in front of me for complicated games. I will do my research to make sure that I play the games well and do them justice. When it comes to Let's Plays, most people just want a game to play, and that's about it. Let's see what this game is about. When it comes to the retro game reviewers, they just want to put the game in context and talk about the legacy and impact of the game, and I want to bridge the gap between the two of those. I want to talk about the legacy and impact of the game, but I also want to play the game. I just don't want to show clips of the game, even though that's what I'm going to be doing when I start, right? I'm just going to be showing clips of video games throughout the 70s, and I'm going to be showing clips of honorable mention games. But, when it comes to the big, important games, I'm going to be playing them all the way through. Not necessarily 100%. I'm not going to lie. A lot of these games don't necessarily deserve to be played 100% through, and I'm going to be making that call in the middle of the game sometimes. Sometimes I'll just be like, you know what? That's enough. I've had to do that before. I did that with Shovel Knight Showdown. My original plan was to go through the multiplayer and show off all the different modes and stuff like that. But as soon as I started getting in, I'm like, this is not particularly good. So I just kind of had to call it and say it's too similar. It's not worth me going through and struggling. Not necessarily struggling, but not having fun going through all these modes. I think there's like 20 different modes, and it's random which one it chooses. So who knows how long it would take me to play all 20. And showing off all these different modes for a fighting system that I don't even think is that good. That kind of thing is probably going to happen. And I might just, not necessarily abandon a game, but I might say, you know what? I think we're done. And that could happen a lot. It's not going to happen on most RPGs, if I'm being honest. If the game has a story, I'm going to finish the story. That's my thoughts on that. I don't know what it's going to take to finish a story, especially if there's a game that the controls are particularly bad. But once again, I should only be playing the really good games. That's the idea. So most of these games, I'm going to make it through, and I'm going to complete the story in its entirety. There are going to be some exceptions. I don't know what they're going to be right now. Well, I mean, World of Warcraft comes to mind, but that's a whole different thing, and I still don't know what I'm doing with that. I haven't had time to think about it. I'm in the 70s right now. But we are going to try to show off as much of the game as I feel is a good showcase of the game while talking about the history of its development as best as I can. A lot of these video games don't have a ton, but I'm going to do as much research as I can. Wikipedia is honestly a great resource, and I'm struggling to find too much outside what's already on Wikipedia anywhere else on a lot of these older games. But as time goes on and I start getting into Nintendo games instead of Atari games, I'll probably get more information out of this kind of stuff. And then, of course, these random computer games at the beginning that never really got a commercial release, they're a little difficult to find anything on. But we're going to get through, and we're going to have a lot of fun, I think. I think people will enjoy this. I hope people will enjoy this. If you do, like I said before, please share it, like it. YouTube, like I said, if it doesn't make it really, soon, if the video does not get a ton of views in a short amount of time, it's not like YouTube is going to advertise it anywhere. But I'm going to put a lot of effort into this kind of stuff. I am putting a lot of effort into this stuff, and hopefully it will show at the end. Unfortunately, it is going to take some time to get to these because there is so much work to be done. Once again, though, I hope you guys are, healthy and safe out there. It's scary right now. It's a scary time to be out there. I wish that I had this ready for this time so that people that are stuck at home could watch them, that I have something for you. But that's just not the way that things panned out for me. And it's maybe like 2 months early for me to have stuff ready. But I will continue to work on this. I will try to show off I'll try to not show off, but I will try to have some videos up. Like I said, I have about 9 months worth of personal updates to talk about, and things have been busy. And I haven't really had a chance to be on social media or really YouTube all that much because of kind of the updates that have been going on in my personal life. And we'll talk about that. I would say nothing major, but I mean, we had to move. I'm not saying like we didn't necessarily choose to move. We had to move. We chose a new place and we chose to purchase it instead of renting. And there's a reason for that. But we'll get into that more later in other videos. This is not the time for it. Like I said, I just kind of wanted to stick with this kind of stuff. And I'll try to talk about the personal updates kind of at length and kind of spread it out. Probably over several videos because there's so much to talk about, and I'll try to go into detail about it as time goes on. But yeah, there's a lot to talk about, and hopefully, things start settling, and I'm able to kind of focus on the channel in a way that it deserves, especially this relaunch. So I'm gonna keep working on stuff today. I got kind of a relaxing day today because, after all, not really allowed to go to many places. I do have to go to the grocery store, but that's about all that I'm allowed to do. So I'm going to continue to work on the channel. I'll keep on scripting. I'll reach out to channel art and that kind of stuff, try to get things done. I do want to have a channel intro and outro again. For those of you that don't particularly like those things, don't worry, I'll keep them short. The intro, I told people I need it less than 5 seconds. No longer than 5 seconds intro, and it should be very quick and straightforward. Then the outro, it does need to be a little bit longer so that I can basically put an end card on it and make YouTube happy about my video and that kind of stuff. But exciting things are coming, right? That's the idea. That's the overall gist of it. Is I'm not going anywhere. I'm working. It's just that you're not going to see the videos for a while, and I am starting to talk in circles. So this is probably a good point to stop talking. It has been over an hour. I hope you guys have been informed by this video, not necessarily enjoyed, because I'm kind of just admitting that there's nothing for a little bit. But I hope you guys do look forward to the upcoming channel relaunch. I've been working on it for a long time. And I have things set up in a way that I can start working on pumping out videos once a few more things finish, and hopefully the editing process doesn't take me too long, and I can get this kind of thing done quickly, and you can start seeing the videos in the next couple months. That's the idea, but yeah, I'm not going anywhere, and I hope you guys do look forward to it. So with that done, that's going to do it for this very long update video. I have been ballerscuba. Is it bad that I already started trying to do the relaunch outro? I haven't even said it before. I've been ballerscuba. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you next time. That's it. I'm not going to do the new outro yet. Spoilers. Thanks for watching.